for divorce from you, sir. Is that a fair statement?
Fair statement, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, you had a business, and the business, you say, went south after a while. You know you owe her some money, and I assume that you're going to pay her. Part of that is not the subject of this case. She shouldn't have to chase you for child support.
She's not, Your Honor. The district attorney's doing a really good job of that himself.
Well, that's a good thing, because if she had to chase you, then she would be emotionally involved with this chase even more than she is now, and that wouldn't be good for Jacob.
Yes, Your Honor.
So it's very good that the district attorney took at least some of that burden off her shoulder. So you are not, sir, in any way blameless. It's probably all your fault that this marriage went south to begin with, because you can't live with somebody who's abusing drugs.
If the Honor doesn't take into the fact that I did enter rehab, I did stop, I have negative drug testing, even to as much as 2 months ago when I got this job.
Just a second, sir. You told me yourself you relapsed.
Well, my version of relapse was maybe 1 day.
That's a relapse. And that's your version. And nobody relapsed. Nobody who's a drug user for years relapses for 1 day. Mr. Kaminer, I've been in this business for a very, very long time, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
And to quote a very, very wise person, don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining.
Yes, Your Honor.
Bottom line with regard to this, these bills you're going to pay, you know, half of these bills you're going to pay. We're going to figure them out. Bird, do me a favor, will you please? While I'm screaming and yelling at these people, would you sit down and try to figure out, I think it's this stack of bills. Go through this, and let's come up with a figure that's half of that. Here's your trusty calculator. Thank you much. You don't mind if I delegate this responsibility to Officer Bird? He really is much smarter than I am when it comes to numbers. However, in the other department, I think I've got him beat. You two folks have a child. When you adopted this child, I assume that you didn't adopt him for the purposes of making him miserable. Bird, do me a favor, take that someplace else. It's making too much noise and I can't think.
Sorry, Judge.
You didn't adopt him with the view towards making his life miserable. And clearly that's going to happen unless the two of you can come up with some way of living separate and apart, but at least being able to come together for the best interests of your child. Miss Herman, you have to do two things. You have to be satisfied that he is no longer using drugs so that you're comfortable with visitation. Do you understand that? Most of the time he used marijuana. Is that correct?
No, ma'am. He's been involved in heroin, cocaine, many drugs.
Then random drug screens once a week will be able to tell over a period of time whether he's still involved in drug use. What are you going like this for?
Because can I specifically address that? Originally, there was a court order for him to be drug tested within 24 hours of my notification. Every time I would call him and ask him to drug test, he would claim he's out of town.
I don't think that you should have any control over that whatsoever.
That was a court order from the judge.
No, listen to me. Well, I don't know why this judge would make such an order.
Also,
quite frankly, I don't think that that's smart. For a judge, I don't think that it's smart for a judge to say, you, madam, call up and tell him when you want him to go and give a urine sample, because that's too much control for you to have. There should be a very simple order. If his visitation is from Friday to Monday, every Thursday, he should be drug tested, because drugs stay in your system for a period of 72 hours. If he's using drugs, it's going to show up. If you say, I have to be 100% positive, and the only way to do that is have him tested 4 times a week, or have him random tested when I want it, because you're shaking your head no, that's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The guy you work for used to be a cocaine dealer.
As I say, my wife is very angry, and she's letting her anger affect the welfare of my son.
Real people, Judge Judy. Louis Kaminer says his ex-wife's allegations of abuse are totally false. Vicki Herman has brought her ex-husband to court, claiming he has harassed and abused her.
He was exercising his visitation, according to you, 20 times. Out of possible 40 times, he saw Jacob 20 times. Was Jacob returned to you okay?
He actually took Jacob at one point from the school without my knowledge.
Miss Herman!
No,
stop
Jacob's
being a
not
victim.
always returned okay.
What do you mean okay? What do you mean he wasn't returned okay? He was dirty?
He's always dirty.
So?
He's always hungry.
So?
He's not returned on time. There's no phone call to let me know that he's
That's
45
unacceptable,
minutes
Mr.
late.
Kaminer.
I don't know what she's
On
talking
time.
about. I take him to the school, Your Honor. I don't
That's
take him
not
to her
true.
house. And she
Just-
picks him up at my house.
Just a second.
True.
Ms. Herman, if you're going to make it difficult for him to see this child after you are reasonably satisfied that he's not using drugs, your son will grow up hating you or feeling very badly about himself. Listen, you owe her half the medical bills. And
Yes,
half
Your
the
Honor.
medical bills, according to Byrd, is,
$565.15, Judge.
that's what you owe her. I am not awarding you anything, Mrs. Herman, with regard to this assault that you allege in 1996. You could have prevented that by allowing him a kiss goodbye with the child. You, on the other hand, Mr. Kaminer, have certain responsibilities, and your responsibility is to support your child. And based upon what I've seen, you have not done so in a reasonable fashion since the separation. Ms. Herman, was he using drugs when you married him?
At the time, I believed not.
Just a minute. When you met him and agreed to marry him, did you know he had a drug problem?
Yes, which I had detoxed him at home through a counselor because he refused to go to rehab, and I thought he was clean. It may be stupid, but I believed it. It was very stupid, but I did believe it.
I know it's a terrible thing to say to you, but I'm telling you something. You picked him.
Oh, yeah, I
That's
loved
your
him.
problem.
I loved him, and I believed him.
You picked him. It's your problem.
I agree.
The only innocent that we have here,
It's Jake.
right. And one way or another, you're going to have to put aside all of the bad history that you have in order to plan for Jacob. And you can't feel, Miss Herman, that you want to have control. He doesn't want you to have control. And I don't blame him. So if you're satisfied, right now he's not on drugs. I can tell. I have an eye. I can smell it. I can see that he's not using. I know you're laughing, but I can tell that he's not using.
Well, I know him, and that's his functional level. So,
Your Honor,
Well, I have more history and I have more experience.
I'm sure you do.
Right now, he's not using.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
If he's not using drugs, he should have as much visitation with the child as he wants. And let me tell you why. Because if he's going to disappoint Jacob, let him disappoint him. Jacob can't blame you for interfering with his relationship with his father. So you give him as much visitation as he can handle. Give him as much as they want. They probably will only exercise a part of it. And you're not going to be the bad one because Jacob's getting older. All right, judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $565. Mr. Kaminer, you have a counterclaim that I am not going to address right now. I think that your wife has, based upon your history, some legitimate concerns with regard to visitation and your child. I think that she probably, at least I hope she understands now that it's not in Jacob's best interest to frustrate visitation. I believe that you've had visitation. You've had some ongoing problems with her with support. I am not awarding you $3,800 for your lawyer so that you can continue to contest whatever proceedings are in family court. You pay support, and you give him visitation. This case is over.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge... 50-year-old waitress Amy Bond is suing her former fiancé, Thomas Wheelock. Amy claims that when their relationship ended, Thomas stopped making the payments on his car loan, which she co-signed. Thomas says he only stopped when Amy refused to give him the car.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Judge, it's number 172 on the calendar in the matter of Bond versus Wheelock. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Vaughn, you were engaged to this gentleman.
Yes, I was.
And have a child together.
Yes.
Now, according to your complaint, you are suing this gentleman because while you were together, you co-signed for a car for him.
Yes.
Big mistake.
Yes, I know.
And when you separated, you took back the car.
Yes, I did. The reason why I took it back was because he was unemployed at the time, and my name is on that insurance and on the car payments.
What about when you separated? You took the car with you initially when you separated.
I took the car the first 2 days, and then her and her mother came over to pick up the car, and I said I would refuse to pay for it if she took it.
That sounds fair.
I took it back because he was unemployed. He didn't make the insurance payments or the car payments that month before because he didn't have a job.
Did you miss a car payment?
No, I did not. Well, because she was paying most of the time for the car.
She was paying it?
Yeah.
For it. Why weren't you paying for it?
Because I'm a bum. Couldn't keep a job for very long and
Why not?
just had problems.
I mean, that's an interesting comment. Maybe truthful, but you classify yourself as a bum. And you said that with a smile on your face. You think that's right?
No.
Well, Mr. Wheelock, you know, I read your answer, sir. I'll get to the car in a second. I read your answer, sir, and your answer complains of lack of visitation with your son. Mm-hmm. And you hope that at least I can, in some small measure, resolve the issue of visitation with your son. Mm-hmm. Why would I want to expose a 2-year-old child to a bum?
Can I tell you that?
Well, you're the child's father. If you can't tell me that, who do you think can?
That I don't deserve to see him.
Then I don't have to entertain your counterclaim.
Okay.
Are you being honest with me, sir?
Yes.
That takes care of that. That's an easy one. Miss Vaughn, you have the car.
Yes.
You took the car back shortly after you separated.
Yes.
Then you have to sell it. I don't know what you're complaining about here.
I took it back because he wasn't making the payments. Why should I make the payments when he has the car?
You're absolutely right. You should have sold it immediately.
I've been
Meanwhile,
trying to.
It's been sitting in your garage.
Yes, I've been trying to. In May, a month after we broke up, I put it in an ad. I did not get any responses. I've gone down to 6,000 in another ad. Gotten some calls, but no offers yet. I've been trying my hardest. I don't know what else to do.
Mr. Wheelock, you want to say anything to me? Huh?
About what?
About this whole process.
I think it's a joke.
Why?
Because, I mean, either way, I have nothing to gain or lose.
But do you feel as if you have any responsibility at all towards helping to make up the deficit in what the car will sell for?
Your Honor, I told her that if she gave me the car, I'd be able to pay for it.
Do you have a job now?
Yes, I do.
Who do you live with?
I live with my parents at the current time.
Do you help support your son?
No, I do not.
Why not?
Because I haven't been able to.
Well, if you haven't been able to help support your son, how are you going to pay for a car?
I just got this job. I was only making $7 an hour at the other job, and all of it went to rent.
To your parents?
No. I was living with my friends. It's kind of a confusing situation. Moved into my friend's house, and I was paying $450 a month for rent, and that's most of my paycheck.
So that you moved back to your parents' house?
Yeah.
Well, you know, this is a no-win situation. It's really a no-win situation. And I want you to think that there's really a much larger picture here, and the much larger picture here is that you two people, when you were still children, had a baby. Now, I don't know why you, sir, refer to yourself in such derogatory terms. I know you say that with a smile, but I attribute that to nervousness.
Actually, not really. I have a 2-year-old son, and I spend over $450 sleeping on my friend's floor for rent. I'm a bum.
Well, you made some misjudgments in your life. But this child is only going to have one father. Right? Mm-hmm. And if you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but I have to straighten up because I have a child. And you never know, it may be the only child you'll ever have. But you're his father. And it's a very bad thing for a child to feel abandoned by a parent.
Yes, I've given him rights to see him. We've set up every Wednesday for him to come see him when he was living with his friends. And half the time he didn't show up. That's one of the reasons why I gave up, because I'd be sitting there waiting for him to show, and he just didn't make the effort to make it.
Why not, Mr. Wheeler?
I didn't want to get into this, but how do I say this? I've been afraid for myself and for my son every time I'm with her.
Why is that?
Because she's hurt me and she's hurt Brandon when I'm around. That's why we broke up.
How she hurt him?
She's thrown him threw the air onto a bed. She threw a can towards him, did not hit him. She left him outside my parents' house when it was raining, and then she drove off, and that was her game. I mean, if it hurt me, that's what she wanted to do.
Did that ever happen?
No.
Your Honor, if we could continue this another day, I can get the 911 tape.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If he feels as if you made no effort to see him, it lends to a feeling of worthlessness to a child. They feel I'm not even a worthwhile enough person for my own father to come to see me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 20-year-old Amy Bond is suing her former fiancé, Thomas Wheelock, because she says he stopped making the payments on a car loan which she co-signed. Thomas says he only stopped when Amy refused to give him the car.
Just tell me what your side of the story is. I'm a pretty good judge of the truth of things.
She would, for the first 3 months that we split up, she had this attitude that she didn't want Brandon. So she'd always tell me, sending me pager messages, that she didn't want him. And then she'd leave him.
Listen.
And if I can get a letter from my parents, they would tell you that, but they're just afraid they won't be able to see Brandon anymore.
If you made a mistake with each other, put a period at the end of that and say, I have to move on with my life, but this was a mistake. We were 20 years old. 20 years old, you're still babies. You have a child. You have to act responsibly towards the child. If you made a mistake in picking him, and if you made a mistake in picking her as the mother of your child, and he is the father of your child, that's not the baby's fault. You, sir, have a responsibility to see your child. And that doesn't mean in a controlled environment. Does he have a drug problem?
No.
He just has keeping a job problem, right?
And keeping promises. If he says he's going to show up to see his son, I expect him to be there.
Well, when you say see his son, I assume you don't mean seeing him in your home.
No, I go to when he was living with his friends, we went to his parents' house, a mutual place. His parents...
You mean to just drop the child off?
I would stay there.
Why?
I don't know.
Well, Miss Bond, we're going to talk about that. I mean, I'm not interested in this car. This car is in your possession. You're going to have to sell this car, and if you have a loss and then you want to refile your case about the car, that's your prerogative. But you can't have the car and the money, too. Do you understand?
Yes.
Fine. But let's get back to this baby, because while the car is important, it's not half as important as the two of you and how you're going to interact with this child. Miss Bond, you just said to me, I don't know why I stay there when he has visitation. You should not be there. You two people clearly don't like each other anymore. I don't think that there's open hostility, perhaps. I don't see that, but there might be. He should have an opportunity, unless there's some reason of drugs, alcohol, some kind of chemical dependency that might place the child at risk. He should have an opportunity to spend time with his child with you not present. He's the father. And maybe if he felt better about himself, taking some responsibility time-wise with his child, maybe he wouldn't think he's such a bum. And you may be, sir, just that. But you have a responsibility when it comes to visiting your child, because that's right for your son. Quite frankly, I don't give two hoots for the two of you. You made the mistake. But by compounding that, it seems to me you're going to hurt this child, because as he gets older, he's going to wonder where his father is. And all he's got to figure is that you made it difficult for his father to see him, then he's going to be angry with you, right?
Yeah.
And if he feels as if you made no effort to see him, he's not only going to be angry with you, but it lends to a feeling of worthlessness to a child. They feel I'm not even a worthwhile enough person for my own father to come to see me. Think that's fair?
No.
He's the innocent. As young as you are, you did a very grown-up thing by making a baby. And it's your responsibility to see to it that this child does not grow up with a feeling of worthlessness because his own father doesn't want to see him. take care of it.
What about the loss of the car that I've already incurred already?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today...
Come on. Get it
did, Your
together,
Honor.
Mr. Bassett.
That's the truth.
You think I have stupid written over here?
No, I don't know.
Good.
Judy is ready to rule.
All right. You have a $2,000 bill from the time you separated until this time, and I'm
Yes.
going to give you that. But that's all you're getting,
Okay.
because you have to either give the car back to him or you have to sell it, and whatever loss there is, it'll be absorbed. At that point, you do not have an anticipatory loss. You have a loss that you can put a number on. I have a $3,000 loss. Now I feel as if you have to contribute to that. But Ms. Bourne, he says that if you give him back the car, he will assume the payments for it. So that's what I think that you should do. Give him back the car. Mr. Wheelock, for a 20-year-old guy to say I'm a bum is a terrible thing. I don't know what kind of upbringing you had, but as a parent, if your parents permitted you to grow up to your age thinking that you're a bum, that they didn't do a terrific job, you better do a better job with your son. Because if you think you're a bum, unless you do something positive right now with a child that's 2 years old, your son will grow up thinking the same thing about himself. Because that's what happens. And that's not fair. You don't seem as if you're a stupid young man. You've done some stupid things. So shape up. And when he has visitation, you don't have to be there. Because that's control. And that's not fair. You're each parents, but you both have to act responsibly. And you better start paying some child support, sir. Now. That's all.
Excuse me, step out. Back onto your records.
And now the next case.
Parties on Stevenson versus Bassett. Step forward, please.
20-year-old Melissa Stevenson says her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old Grant Bassett, didn't pay her the money she loaned him to purchase a car. Grant claims Melissa was not his girlfriend, and the money for the car was a gift.
You two folks were an item, dated, were romantically involved. You claim you lent him money for a truck. Is that right?
That is correct.
No. We were not
Chuck,
romantically involved. Or
just a second.
couple.
She claims that you were romantically involved as a couple, and she lent you money for a truck, which you bought. You say she gave you an old truck of hers, and it was a loan,
Yes, ma'am.
and it got towed.
Yes, ma'am.
So, those are two diametrically opposed stories. Let's hear about it, Miss Stevenson.
Grant and I were friends and dating for 4 months. Grant had decided to take a job out of state in Arizona, and I was all for him doing that because it was a career advancement, and he did not have a vehicle, so he had no way of getting there. So we had batted back and forth the idea of me loaning him the money to purchase a truck. And he looked through the auto trader and he found what he wanted, and I came down with a Visa check, you know how you can draw money off your account, and we were going to go purchase this truck. What happened is they wouldn't take the check, they wanted cash, so I went in, got a cash advance off my credit card for $3,500, and we purchased the truck.
Go ahead.
So Grant leaves for Arizona, takes the truck with him, and we had a verbal agreement that he would make double payments on whatever my minimum balance was on the credit card. So first month goes by, I get a couple checks in the mail. I was, oh great, I can pay my payment. I was happy about that. And the next month rolls by, we talked on the phone, and I said, are you going to send me some money this month? And he was having trouble paying his bills, and he stopped sending me any money. Pretty much every month I called him, send me $50, send me something so I can pay my credit card bill. I'm a struggling student trying to pay my bills here too. Nothing came of that. No money was sent. I kept on him, and...
That's it. That's where we are right now.
Basically, yes.
All right, Mr. Bassett.
Okay. What happened is I left for Arizona, and Melissa had a truck, so she lent me her truck because I was going to move out of state. I did not want to purchase another vehicle in California and have to move to Arizona, reside, have to pay the registration fees. So my first 2 weeks in the academy, I bought a vehicle. So her vehicle sat at the apartment that me and my partner were sharing, and it wasn't registered. Wasn't registered either one of our names. We could not re-register it. They couldn't pass smog. The axles were bent, so it got towed away.
That's
Mr.
not
Bassett,
true.
you just told me a story that is totally different from hers. You understand
Yes, Your
that?
Honor. I was never there during the transaction. I don't know where she got the money. I don't know where she got the vehicle.
Can I see your transactions, please?
Sure. Your Honor, I have some other things that will help verify my story. Grant was about to move back from Arizona, and I called him up. I said, listen, you know, we're friends. Why would you do this to me? I want some proof that you're going to pay me back when you can. And I said, would you be willing to sign a contract stating you owe me the money? And he said, yeah, you know, I'm your friend. I'll do that. I just jotted down that he did owe me the money, that he had given me a payment already on it, and that he would have to pay. You know, I was getting really frustrated by this time. I had been paying on it for over a year and paying interest, 18% on my credit card. That's ridiculous.
Show him this, please. Ask him. Mr. Bassett, is that your signature on that loan agreement?
Yes, Your Honor, it is. And if you notice, their coincidence just happened to be on my birthday.
Happy birthday, sir.
Yeah.
Is that your signature?
Exactly. I was happy birthday.
I didn't know
yeah.
it was his birthday.
You signed that.
Yes.
So?
So she showed up on my birthday. All my friends were there, so I had to sign it just to get her out of there.
Get out of here. Give this to me.
Your Honor?
Get out, just a second. Am I correct that you went to Arizona in order to become a police officer?
Yes, that's correct.
Corrections officer in a
Corrections.
jail.
Just a
State.
second. Being a corrections officer, similar as far as I'm concerned to being a police officer.
Yes, ma'am. We can't.
Supposed to be able to rely on what you say to me, Mr. Bassett. You don't sign something like this and then come and tell me this grandma story that it was your birthday and you just signed anything. Come on. Get it
did, Your
together,
Honor.
Mr. Bassett.
That's the truth.
You think I have stupid written over here?
No, I don't know.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Balance of the loan is how much, madam?
About a little over $4,900.
All right. Let me tell you what I have, sir. Let me tell you what proof I have today. Aside from just hearing these two stories, which, you know, could be written from two different novels, I have proof that she withdrew the money from the bank. I have the fact that there was a car or a truck. And I have a signed statement from you with a signature that I have compared to your signature on your answer, and also you acknowledge that you signed that you owe her the money. That's the proof I have. Right?
Yes.
Stands up to me. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,900. That's all.
Parties
Your
are
Honor.
excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Parties on now versus West. Step forward, please.
54-year-old Jim Knoll is suing Gary West, a salesman from Fullerton, California. Jim's son Ty says that while driving his father's new Ford Explorer, Gary's son Jared was horsing around with the four-wheel drive controls and caused $1,300 in damages to the truck.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 127 on the calendar in the matter of Knoll versus West. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Nowell, you are the owner of a four-wheel drive truck kind of car.
Ford Explorer.
According to your complaint, your 16-year-old son, that's you, sit up, was driving this four-wheel drive truck, and the defendant's son, that's you, was a, you can sit down.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Was a passenger in the front seat. According to your complaint, this young man damaged your car by pressing some sort of a button.
To change it from two-wheel drive to four-wheel drive while the car was in motion. Truck was in motion, yeah.
And you say that because of that, there was damage to the car, $1,300 worth.
Yeah, it was in perfect working condition until the boys went for a 15-minute ride to the Del Taco.
Okay. You weren't in the car.
No.
Now up. What's your name?
Kai.
How long have you been driving?
About 2 months.
How long were you driving at the time that you had this young man as a passenger?
A couple days.
Days.
Yeah.
Who else was in the car other than the two of you?
Those two guys, Jeff and Chris.
So there were 4 of you all together.
Right.
So tell me what happened. You get in the car and your friends get in the car and you decide to take a little spin.
We were going to Del Taco to get dinner, and we were just, you know, driving, and Jared decided he wanted to push the 4-wheel drive button. So he kept hitting it, and I asked him to stop, and I told him to stop, and I slapped his hand away and tried to make him stop, but he's bigger than me, and I was trying to drive and do it at the same time.
Good like